Hey everybody, it's Greg Harrelson here with Century 21, the Harrelson Group. Of course, we are here on another Myrtle Beach Real Estate TV episode, and my co-host Abe Safa has joined me again. Abe, thank you again for being with me.
Hey, Greg, always a pleasure to do these shows.
Yeah, and just want to remind everybody up front to please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're starting to get lots of feedback and interaction, and we just really want to continue to share this. And if you subscribe, then you're going to get a notification whenever we do one of these episodes. And you want to stay, close to these because we are going to continue to stay close to the market. Abe, this week, our title today is, the inventory remains low. Therefore, prices are kind of keeping, they're stabilizing, or they're remaining high, which is always a concern, right? Is when there's a little shift in the market, what's going to happen to prices? A lot of property owners want to know that. So interesting times. But what kind of data do you have that will support that? What can you kind of share us the numbers on that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the most important, interesting things that I'm seeing is inventory, like for the last, I'd say 4 weeks or so. We kind of touched on it last week, but the last 4 to 5 weeks is just not growing, right? It's not declining, right? We're not seeing shrinkage in inventory, but it's kind of like stabilized over the last 4 or 5 weeks. We are seeing more withdrawals come off the market. Of course, there's going to be new listings in the market, but you would think there would be more listings in the market right now. People trying to sell while the market's changing. You would think inventory would just be growing because homes are taking longer to sell, but it's just not. It's kind of flattened out some. It's just not growing as much.
I mean, the reality is actually reverse. It's like, even though it's very small, but I think the numbers would really say that there's less inventory today, right? Even though it might only be a few percent.
It's fractional. Yeah, it's like it'll go up a tiny bit, go down a little bit, but it's not growing, right? As opposed to like in 2007 when the market was changing on us, like it was like a hockey stick acceleration and inventory growing, and we're just not seeing that right now, at least not the last 4 or 5 weeks or so. So that's an interesting to look at, because that's going to have a significant impact on prices, because if inventory isn't growing as quickly as we anticipated, then prices may not drop as much. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, it would be, so inventory is not really growing. I think we can say with confidence that the number of buyers or demand is not necessarily, increasing at a high level. I would argue it's probably decreasing, but with inventory, the problem would have been is as demand decreases, if inventory would have started sharply rising,
right,
that would have probably created some sort of downturn in a pricing or softening in pricing. Now, there are price reductions taking place. Quite a few price reductions taking place. So, who knows what's going to happen, what we'll report in a few months from now. But because demand has decreased, but inventory has actually kind of decreased a little bit with it, then the pricing is fairly stabilized at this moment.
Yeah. I think that's spot on. We're not seeing, of course, some price reductions, but there was also a lot of sellers that were, shooting for the stars.
Yeah.
Right. They were thinking like it was, 6 months ago when getting, 12 offers per property. That's not happening anymore. Right. So we're not getting, 10, 15% above asking price. Yeah. So there was a lot of sellers out there that were unrealistic, and we're starting to see some price reductions.
Yeah. I told some people to, that people are saying, well, price is coming down. I'm like, well, yeah. Instead of paying $30,000 over full price, you can actually just pay full price. So the reality is it doesn't feel like it's coming down, but for some buyers, they are able to buy some quality properties at full price at which is a lot better than having to pay $30,000 more. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing today, Now, what are you seeing? What about the difference between the condo market and residential? Is it following the same pattern? Because at least with my own eyes, when I'm evaluating condos, I feel like I look at particular buildings and I see in that building, there's, 3 times as many listings than there was before. So in my mind, logically, I'd say, well, inventory must be growing there. But maybe it's not. But are you seeing any discrepancy between property types?
Yeah, no question about it. Not just property types, but also different pockets within the market.
Okay.
Example, like I just took a listing over at Legends. It's Turnberry Park of Legends. Those are still doing really well. As a matter of fact, if you look over the last 3 or 4 months, they've actually still been appreciating, right? Because there's only one unit on the market for sale. You look on the oceanfront, a place like Caravel. Okay, 2 months ago, we couldn't even, as soon as we took a listing, we got 6 offers on it the first day. There's 21 units on the market right now in Caravel, okay, and then none of them on the contract.
Yeah.
That's a huge discrepancy. So oceanfront condos, a completely different picture than what we're seeing in golf course condos, and a completely different picture than what we're seeing with single family homes. And now if you want to drill down even more, when you look at oceanfront condos, okay, it's not all equal either. You know, stuff in Caravel, stuff in Landmark has really, really slowed down some. Monterey Bay has really slowed down some. But then you look at places like Emerald Cove in North Myrtle Beach, where nothing ever hits the market. A 3-bedroom just hit the market the other day for $500,000, sold instantly.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's going to be Paradise Point. There's going to be certain pockets where oceanfront is still doing really, really well, and there's going to be certain pockets, especially like the lower end, the lower price points, are getting hammered right now.
You know, it's so funny that I'm going to repeat some of the things that you said. You said Landmark, you said Caravel, and you said Monterey Bay Suites.
Yeah.
Then you compared it to Paradise Point, Emerald Cove, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to give you something that I have seen, and you probably already know this, but this is a pattern that I've also seen. When a market shifts, we're just going to talk about oceanfront buildings. When the market shifts, the first thing to shift down are hotel to condo conversion buildings. The last thing are the new buildings that were always condos. It's just, you didn't even plan this, but if you notice the 3 examples, those were all hotels converted to condos, all 3 buildings. And it was the 2 that you, other examples were all condo buildings built originally to be a condo.
Right.
So like when I hear this, I'm like, okay, well, I can see, and typically hotel conversions to condos are smaller units, and they're usually packed with efficiencies and 1-bedrooms. And then when you look at the newer buildings, which both of those buildings, I believe, are in North Myrtle Beach that you mentioned. If you think about the North Myrtle Beach buildings that were always condos, they were built in 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 bedrooms. So, you know, if we looked at 1-bedrooms, there's probably a lot more 1-bedroom oceanfront condos entering the market or studios than there would be 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms. So we're also going to see those types of patterns. In either way, I think the big message to those that are listening, I think it's important we can't just generalize and say, hey, inventory is actually still low and prices are high. We can generalize in the sense that we have not seen any major decreases in prices anywhere yet. But no matter what you own, it's important that we have an individual conversation on your type of property so we can give you a more accurate assessment of what's going on, because what's going on for your 1-bedroom on the ocean front is not going to be the same that's going on for a 3-bedroom in Carolina Forest as a residential home. It's people make too many mistakes by thinking that the market is just the market and not understanding that there's pockets in the market, like you call it.
No question about it. And most agents in our market are not going to pay that close attention to the numbers in the different pockets. So you can easily see someone taking like a Paradise Point and underpricing it, and then taking like a Caravel or Landmark and overpricing it.
Yes.
But you got to be really careful right now in this weird market where things are changing. And then back to your point, that's a tremendous point between the condo hotels and original condos, because if we go back and look at when things started appreciating in value when it came to oceanfront condos, guess which ones appreciated first? And then it was the Landmarks of the world. Yeah. And then the Landmarks of the world came up towards the end because they caught the tailwind of it. And now as the market shifts, we're going to see the Landmarks of the world go down. I'm not picking on Landmarks.
I've seen this happen so many times. And so, you know, where some people, like I might talk to somebody in Landmark and I might say, yes, I know that this is where the comps are, but we may need to kind of like consider $5,000 less just to make sure that we sell, because the pattern is going to show that if we actually sell it for say $3,000 less than you want today, that's better than $10,000 less in 6 months. right? And that usually is a conversation that you're dealing with a hotel condo conversion type of product. It doesn't happen as much in the bigger condo buildings. So
Yeah.
again, it has a lot to do with the smaller units. They're typically older units. So a lot of times there's outdated, they're smaller, they're older. The building has to have high HOA fees, because if you look at some of these hotel to condo conversions, you're going to see smaller units that have like disproportionate HOA fees relative to the value of their property. Like you might have a one bedroom that has a $700 HOA fee, and you go to North Myrtle Beach and you could have a 3-bedroom that only has a $775 HOA fee. See, there's a disproportion there. And a lot of that could do with the age of the building and how much maintenance that they have to plan for, and which would be more common in the hotel to condo conversion type of products. So, I guess that's where a lot of my experience comes in, and seeing the history of the marketplace, but
Yeah. And we're kind of seeing the same thing with single family homes. There's certain communities that are doing much better than other communities where inventory hasn't grown as much. And if you're not sure where your property stands, I'm going to give you a really easy rule of thumb to remember. Okay. First up, last down, first down, last up. So as the market was appreciating, if your property was one of the first ones to start appreciating, then chances are, as the market's shifting, you'll be one of the last ones to depreciate.
Yeah.
If you had a property where everybody else's value was going up, but yours wasn't until the very end, chances are yours has already started going down, or will go down first before anything else. So first up, last down is the rule of thumb.
Yeah, another rule that I've always used is, if you take a map, right, in the Myrtle Beach Grand Strand, we can't go east, right? The ocean is there, so we're always going west, or we're going north south. But then we get into North Carolina, and then we get into Georgetown and whatnot. So if you just go from Polly's Island to, say, Little River, which is pretty much the Myrtle Beach market, the Grand Strand market, and then you go towards out Conway, and so if you just look at the center of the market, right? The center of the market usually appreciates first. So the center of the market would be, say, Myrtle Beach, Carolina Forest. That's the center of the market. Forest Brook I would say would be part of that center. The Plantation Lake, well, that's Carolina Forest. All of that would be the center. Okay. So when the market started moving, that started booming first. And then all of a sudden, what ended up happening is people that could afford the homes in that area can no longer afford. So then all of a sudden, the people that normally wanted Carolina Forest had to buy out near, say, coastal Carolina. And then, so the first to appreciate was in the center of our market. The second to appreciate was between that and coastal Carolina. And then all of a sudden, those prices rose and rose and rose, and it pushed people to the other side of coastal into Conway. And then those properties rose, and then it pushed them out to Aner. And then those properties rose, right? So there's where we go from like the core to the outer markets. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, and I hope that prices do not go down. But I can tell you, the last time that we were in a market correction, to your point, Abe, is the first property to actually decrease was Aner. Then Conway, then coastal, then Myrtle Beach. So it's not only like it's the further you get away from the center, it's usually the center first, the outer areas last, going up. Going down, it's outer areas first, center last. And that'll happen across the country in like suburbs of cities. They're like 10 years ago, there was no houses. Now it's full of houses. Why? Because people were priced out of the center. But when they can afford to get back into that area, then they're going to go buy that house in that area and abandon the outer areas. So,
yeah, that rule of thumb is worth forever when it comes to real estate. Yeah.
Well, there's your little, I guess there's the rule of thumbs of Abe and Greg. But, I think I'm really happy to see that inventory is not skyrocketing, because we know that usually leads to some decline in prices. So we do not see inventory skyrocketing. We do see less traffic on websites. We do see that there's less showings on listings. So there are things out there that we've got to keep our eyes, open to. But right now, at this moment, we're just not seeing any kind of movement on prices. Very stabilized. But
Yeah.
please tune in, subscribe, get these notifications so you can stay on top of what we're seeing. Well, Abe, thank you again. There's our information at the bottom. If we can help you, again, Greg Harrelson, Abe Safa, Century 21, the Harrelson Group. We'll continue to deliver this information. Hopefully you find value, and leave a comment, either on Facebook or on the YouTube channel. I do actually look at those, so I'll answer and comment back if necessary. Thank you so much, Abe.
Until next week. See you.